started your career as a lawyer for SEC after graduating from Stanford Law School. Then you went into politics and have spent the entirety of your career as a politician. Could you share with us what had motivated you for the career change? Like, what are the intentions when you decided to go to politics?
Fundamentally, I just like to help solve people's problems. It's pretty simple. Somebody once said that the most noble human endeavor is service. Service to church, to synagogue, to family, to community, whatever it might be. And I agree with that. I think that the service has tremendous psychic rewards. And for me, I wanted to enter a public service. I wanted to go back home to my home state of Montana, the state of the nation, and represented Montana in the United States Senate for about 40 years. And that decided actually I wanted a career change to move into the private sector. Oh. And I told President Obama I'm going to not run for the Senate again, but just go in the private sector. And then he asked me, well, Max, why don't you go to China? And I thought, sure, why not? Let's go to China. Because I've been very involved in Chinese matters for many, many years, and I just love the job. But fundamentally, I like service. That's basically the answer. Okay,
you have remained in the Senate for 36 years, making you the senator from Montana with the longest tenure. Like, why did you decide to stay for the same role for so long? And have you ever considered running for the president?
You know, when you're from Montana, you realize what a great job it is to be representing Montana. I mean, we feel so lucky with Montanans. And I know most people in most states think the same about their state. I'm sure that's true. But having recognized all that, still, we've got the best. So anyway, I just liked working for the state. I was born in Montana. I come from a ranching family. So the state's really in my blood. It's in me. And so I just liked working on it. But after a while, the job got, in a certain sense, kind of easy. I knew how to do it. I was getting a little anxious, antsy, do something new and different. And that's why I decided it was the toughest professional decision of my life, not to run again for the United States Senate. But I decided, no, I want to jump in the private sector.
So you were the chair of the Senate Finance Committee from 2007 to 2014. Yeah. The collapse of Lehman Brothers occurred in September 2008, right. Triggering the unprecedented global financial crisis. Right. And what would you say are the key measures you have taken to mitigate the crisis and get the economy back on track?
Secretary Paulson, others in the administration, sitting down across the table, working out legislation affecting various banks and companies, and what are we going to do, what makes most sense. And the real key was just help stabilize the American economy. Do what we had to do, but to stabilize it. Secretary Paulson, others in the administration, sitting down across the table, working out legislation affecting various banks and companies, and what are we going to do, what makes most sense. And the real key was just help stabilize the American economy. Do what we had to do, but to stabilize it. In the Finance Committee, we had, of course, we worked on lots of different legislation. It was Dodd-Frank and Sarbanes-Oxley and all the post-financial crisis legislation. But I think we did a decent job. It wasn't perfect, but it was decent, and it's very rewarding work to try to jump into it and say, okay, what can we do here to help get the American economy back on 2 feet again?
So you were nominated by President Obama personally to serve as the United States ambassador to China. Yep. And why did you decide? I mean, you probably answered this question, but let me ask again. So why did you decide to take that job, and what criteria do you think you have are key in getting nominated for the China ambassador position?
But essentially, I've been very involved in Chinese relationships for a long time. I would take trade delegations and congressional delegations to China over the years, beginning in the 1980s. I spent a good bit of time with Premier Zhu Wenji, helping China enter the WTO, and just a deep, abiding interest in Asia, especially China. Mm-hmm. We have a big presence at the University of Montana, big China presence, so that's a large part of it. And I like public service and been chairman of the Finance Committee. A lot of that's trade, international trade, and a lot of trade agreements help pursue. So I think President Obama said, hey, Max might not be a bad guy to sit over that job. And I feel very honored. I love the job. It's the best job I've ever had, and for a couple of reasons. One is the Chinese people. I just love the energy, enthusiasm, the can-do attitude, getting things done and so forth, and positive attitude. And second, the reward of working on the U.S.-China relationship, just doing whatever I could, marginally, incrementally, kind of help each side understand each other, to kind of patch things together, make things work as well as possible. It's very rewarding. I just loved it.
Okay. Can you share one or two major success achievements you have done when you were the U.S. ambassador to China? Like one or two, any good achievement?
Well, China, a couple, 3 years ago, was proposing some banking regulations which would have the effect of, frankly, stifling, almost preventing any foreign technology firms from selling products, servers, routers, whatnot, to Chinese banks. It was just way too much, too severe. So I explained that vociferously, vigorously to the Chinese government. That just didn't make sense. But we also worked with other countries. Okay. U.S. Chamber of Commerce worked with the U.S.-China Business Council, with the European Chamber of Commerce, with the European Commission, Japan, and South Korea. And we were able to band together and say, wait a minute, we all have technology firms in all our countries, and this isn't going to work. And they backed down. It was the one time I saw the Chinese government withdraw regulation because of outside pressure. And it's so far still been shelved. They've not reinstituted it. Other efforts include helping, frankly, the Chinese government, urging the Chinese government to take more seriously on some of the hackers exist in China, whether it's PLA or whoever it might be. And again, worked with the head of Chinese security, come back to the United States and say, hey, we got to stop that. And we did institute a 5-part set of agreements between the United States and China to start to address that. So those are two big ones.
This question might be a little sensitive, but so how do you think of President Trump's position on trade with China right now, with that eventually lead to a trade war between the two major powers? What do you think would be at stake if so?
Well, I believe, frankly, that when I was serving over there, the U.S.-China relationship was the most important bilateral relationship in the world. I think it's even more true today. As China rises, becomes more economically strong, doing the United States established power. And I think the first thing you do is the old song, do no wrong. That is, you don't immediately slap on tariffs, because that's just going to exacerbate that. That's just going to create tension and cause greater problems. I think President Trump should also be more consistent in pursuing a constructive policy toward China. He's been very inconsistent. Early on, with his telephone call to Taiwan, and then questioning the one China policy, and talking about steel tariffs, and now he's talking about additional tariffs under Section 301 and so forth. So I think that he needs to, frankly, get away from this America First policy and rather sit down and work with China. We, after all, as the two largest economies in the world, have to get along together. And we are basically joined together at the hip economically already. Right. But we have to just work together, because if we don't, frankly, the consequences for each side are going to be not good.
Our association is aiming to create a social and professional platform for the next generation of young leaders from the region to bond and build great relationship. Then what do you advise me to achieve that goal?
First, I just have a couple of points here. One, have the desire to want to do something constructive. That's number one. Number two, get the facts. You got to know what's going on. Don't just trust what somebody says. You got to find out what's the facts here.
What's the facts here?
Because facts are the glue that help us reach agreements. If we don't agree on the facts, then we have to agree on the facts before we next get to the policy. And so I'm suggesting everybody have a desire to get involved. Know the facts. Don't get histrionic about something. Just get the facts. And number three, just listen to the other person's point of view, and find some common ground that way, and then find a way to talk to friends in China, friends in the United States, who also, in good faith, want to address the relationship.
Thank you, Senator, for your time today.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Kamsahamnida.
Thank you. Okay, go.